The cracks in America. 10 states on the brink. Across the United States, the signs of strain are undeniable. Gas lines wrapping around blocks, hospitals and schools facing staff shortages, and state leaders pleading for federal aid to simply keep essential services running. The cracks are turning into chasms in many places. A single severe storm could shatter entire budgets, while in other regions, jobs are vanishing, debt is surging, and crime is boiling over. A critical question echoes louder than the rest. How close are we to the edge? Because these 10 states are hanging by a thread, and if that thread snaps, the consequences will be more than just headlines. They'll impact homes and livelihoods. Number 10, Illinois. A state in retreat? The headlines might proclaim recovery, but a walk through parts of Illinois reveals a different reality, a sense of retreat. Storefronts are empty, pension promises are breaking, and the immense weight of one of the country's highest public debt loads is pressing down hard. How long can a state sustain such deep deficits before the cracks become permanent? Illinois is already burdened with over $140 billion in pension debt. That's not a typo, it's a ticking time bomb. What's worse, soaring property taxes are driving families out, businesses are following suit, schools are losing funding, and neighborhoods are hollowing out. While Chicago often steals the spotlight, smaller towns are silently bleeding, some on the verge of collapse. Can a state survive when it's borrowing from tomorrow just to get through today? Without significant reform and relief, Illinois may not be able to outrun what's coming. Number 9, New Jersey, flashing warning lights. From an outsider's perspective, New Jersey appears solid, boasting proximity to New York City, high median incomes, and bustling highways. However, beneath this surface, warning lights are flashing. The state carries one of America's highest debt burdens, public pensions are severely underfunded, and taxes are among the highest nationwide. As a result, people are leaving rapidly, over 70,000 residents relocated in just 1 year. Businesses are following, and as they do, the tax base shrinks, yet the bills remain. What happens when a state relies so heavily on commuters and corporate revenue, and both begin to disappear? Local budgets tighten, services suffer, and schools struggle. The harsh truth is that some towns are already cutting corners just to survive. Number 8, Connecticut, a quiet struggle. On the surface, Connecticut presents a polished image, charming towns, ivy-covered campuses, and an aura of quiet wealth. Yet, beneath this prestige, Connecticut is quietly struggling. Ask anyone who's lived here long enough, and they'll tell you something feels off. The state has one of the highest per capita debt loads in the entire country, with billions tied up in pension obligations. Every year, the interest alone digs the hole deeper. Property taxes are soaring, and in some counties, families are being priced out of homes they've lived in for generations. The question is, how sustainable is a system where the tax base is shrinking but costs continue to grow? Number 7, Kentucky, vanishing hope. It's easy to drive through parts of Kentucky and miss the warning signs: rolling hills, coal country pride, and tight-knit towns. But look closer, and you'll find some counties in eastern Kentucky are already in crisis, marked by shrinking populations, failing infrastructure, and hospitals closing permanently. The deeper issue is that Kentucky's economy still leans heavily on coal, manufacturing, and government aid. When one of these pillars shakes, the rest begin to crumble. As coal jobs disappear and automation replaces factory workers, entire communities are being left behind. What happens when hope starts to vanish along with the jobs? Number 6, Louisiana, eroding economy and geography. Louisiana is rich in soul, with its vibrant music, culture, and food. But behind the festivals and riverfront charm, the state is quietly unraveling. The numbers tell a stark story: one of the highest poverty rates in the United States, crumbling infrastructure, and a coastline that is literally disappearing. An average of 1 football field of land vanishes every hour due to erosion and rising seas. How long can a state survive when both its economy and geography are eroding simultaneously? Oil and gas once fueled Louisiana's boom, but the industry is volatile. As demand shifts and refineries face stricter regulations, towns that once thrived are now fighting just to hang on. Add to that a fragile education system, underfunded public services, and a healthcare crisis where rural hospitals are shutting down. And then there are the storms. Louisiana doesn't just get hit by hurricanes, it gets tested every single season. Recovery costs stack higher, and insurance premiums skyrocket. In some areas, insurers are pulling out completely, leaving families unprotected in the face of rising risk. New Orleans may embody resilience, but venture outside the city, and you'll find parishes where opportunity is drying up, youth out-migration is accelerating, jobs are scarce, and violence in some urban pockets is surging. Number 5, Pennsylvania. Chasing a vanished past. Old steel towns, rolling hills, and rows of brick homes that once housed generations of workers. At first glance, Pennsylvania still carries the weight of its legacy. But beneath the history, something deeper is shifting, and not in the right direction. Look at cities like Johnstown, Erie, or Wilkes-Barre. Downtowns frozen in time, businesses shuttered, and populations shrinking year after year. Some places have lost more than a quarter of their residents since their peak. How does a state move forward when entire regions are still chasing a past that isn't coming back? The manufacturing backbone that once made Pennsylvania proud has been hollowed out. Coal jobs are gone, steel is a shadow of what it was, and while new industries have tried to take root, the economic divide between places like Philadelphia and rural Pennsylvania continues to grow. The state's infrastructure is aging rapidly, roads, bridges, and water systems are in dire need of repairs. Public school funding is uneven, and some districts are falling dangerously behind. Then there's the opioid crisis. In some counties, overdose deaths now outnumber deaths from car crashes. It's not just a drug issue, it's an economic one, with despair filling the space where opportunity used to live. Number 4, California. The cracks in the golden dream. From a distance, it still looks like the dream. Palm trees swaying, golden coastlines, and innovation hubs lighting up the night. But look closer, and California is cracking. Behind the shine of Silicon Valley and Hollywood glitz lies a state struggling to hold itself together. The cost of living is skyrocketing in major cities. Even six-figure incomes can barely keep up with rent. Families are moving out, small businesses are folding, and homelessness in some regions has reached emergency levels. How does the world's fifth-largest economy have so many people living in tents? The state's energy grid is under stress, marked by rolling blackouts, water shortages, and wildfires that are getting bigger, hotter, and harder to control. Insurance companies are pulling out of entire counties. In some areas, people can't even rebuild after disasters because they can't get coverage. Then there's the exodus. Between 2020 and 2023, California lost over 500,000 residents to other states. Many were middle-class workers, nurses, teachers, technicians, people who felt they no longer had a future here. And yet, the state's budget is on shaky ground. After a brief surplus, California is now facing a multi-billion-dollar deficit. Revenue from tech and capital gains has dipped, and with fewer high earners sticking around, the tax base is more fragile than it looks. Number 3, Arizona. The desert's mirage? Sunlight, mountains, wide open skies. Arizona looks like a place built to last. But beneath the desert beauty, something urgent is unfolding. How does a state grow this fast and still stand on the edge of collapse? Arizona has experienced one of the biggest population booms in the country, with thousands moving here every month chasing affordable homes and warm weather. But the systems meant to support them, water, energy, housing, are starting to buckle. The water crisis is no longer theoretical. The Colorado River, which supplies nearly 40% of Arizona's water, is drying up. Lake Mead and Lake Powell have hit historic lows. Farmers are already being cut off, and some communities are drilling deeper just to reach anything. And here's the kicker. Growth is accelerating, more homes, more lawns, more golf courses, but fewer answers. Meanwhile, the heat is getting worse. Phoenix broke records for consecutive days over 110 degrees. That's not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Emergency rooms are seeing more heat-related illnesses, power grids are under strain, and some areas are becoming nearly unlivable for vulnerable residents. Number 2, Maryland. Uneven prosperity. On the surface, Maryland shines, a mix of bustling Baltimore streets, thriving suburbs, and historic charm. But what happens when the wealth isn't evenly spread? A closer look reveals that Baltimore's neighborhoods tell a different story, with poverty rates above the national average, climbing crime rates, and public schools struggling to keep students on track. The city's long decline in manufacturing jobs hasn't been fully replaced, leaving many without stable work. Across the state, the cost of living is rising faster than wages, squeezing middle and lower income families. Housing affordability is crumbling, pushing many toward long commutes or overcrowded conditions. Here's the catch. Maryland's economy leans heavily on federal government contracts and services. Any cuts or slowdowns in Washington, D.C. send ripples throughout the state, threatening jobs and local businesses. Then there's infrastructure, aging bridges, congested highways, and transit systems in desperate need of upgrades. Traffic jams choke productivity, while public transit shortages limit opportunity for those who need it most. Demographic shifts add pressure, with an aging population and a growing wealth gap straining healthcare and social services. Number 1, Alaska. Fighting for its future. From soaring mountains to icy fjords, Alaska looks like a rugged paradise built to endure. But beneath that stunning landscape lies a state grappling with deep challenges. What happens when a place so vast and remote struggles to keep its people and its economy alive? Alaska's wealth has long depended on oil, but with global demand shifting and prices volatile, the state's revenue is shrinking. The famous oil dividends that once put money in residents' pockets are smaller every year. Government budgets are tightening, forcing cuts to schools, healthcare, and infrastructure. Meanwhile, young people are leaving for better opportunities elsewhere. Communities once thriving on fishing and tourism now face labor shortages and aging populations. The story of these 10 states is more than just numbers and headlines, it's a wake-up call. From Alaska's shrinking oil revenue to California's housing crisis, and from Arizona's water shortages to Maryland's growing inequalities, each place faces challenges that could change lives overnight. These aren't distant problems, they affect communities, families, and futures across America.